Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my director spotlight on Mikio Naruse, who began his feature-length directing career in 1930. After that, he stayed active in directing until about 1967. His filmography is very large, consisting of over 90 titles, so a top 10 list feels appropriate. Now, sometimes I'll cover a director who didn't direct that many movies and we'll do a top 5 or something like that. A simplistic summary of Naruse's films might be something like this. Serious dramas that are emotionally downbeat a lot of the time and showcase some of the elite actresses of the era, most prominently Hideko Takamine, who appeared in 17 of his films between 1941 and 1966. So, absolutely awesome actress, one of my favorites from the classic era. And this director is very consistent in his overall quality. And so when you're exploring his films, you're also exploring Takamine's filmography as well, concurrently, because they collaborated a lot. And because this director's overall quality of his films are so high, I can only assume that my rankings of these films would probably change a bit if I were to watch them all again, But in any case, let's just get to the list. My thoughts on each film will be very brief, primarily because this is a list video, not a review. And remember, titles for all the movies I discussed are listed in the description box below. I typically don't provide availability information in this playlist because most of these films I saw years ago, and the availability changes over time. My usual method for checking is Google, so be sure to seek out any films that seem interesting to you. I think for a lot of classic films, I still think Criterion probably still has a number of Naruse's films on their streaming site, and you could also buy some of the old Eclipse sets, DVD sets, where you could get his films in batches. So let's go. Number 10, The Stranger Within a Woman, 1966. This is a drama. Naruse directs this film about a marriage that gets thrown into turmoil when their friend is found murdered. A somewhat unusual plotline for this director, but he still brings his expert direction to the table and squeezes out some very fine performances from the actors. This is also quite atmospheric, with lots of rainy weather, and it has a very cool ending. Good stuff with two of the cutest kids you'll ever see in a classic film. Number 9, A Wanderer's Notebook, also known as Lonely Lane, 1962. This is also a drama. Most of these are going to be dramas. This film follows the life of a poor, aspiring writer played by Hideko Takamine, whose love interests are, of course, insensitive jerks. This is kind of a common occurrence in Naruse's works. There's quite a bit of voiceover in this one, but it does offer some insight into the main character's thoughts. Takamine gets to cut loose in a few scenes, and she's quite fun to watch in this, and her acting range is displayed very nicely. Themes of poverty and obtaining success provide an engaging script from beginning to end. Number 8, Late Chrysanthemums, 1954. This film is about a retired geisha who is resented for her handling of money and her hard-headed collections from borrowers. The script is dialogue-heavy with lots of lengthy one-on-one conversations, so the supporting characters are given a lot of development, as well as their relationships with their grown children. Naruse does a fine job of creating a three-dimensional lead whose jaded personality is fueled by the ulterior motives of others. One highlight is the brief but hilarious contributions of the daughter. Number 7, Floating Clouds, also known as Ukigumo, 1955. A woman, played by Hideko Takamine, of course, returns to Japan from forest service in World War II, but finds that her wartime lover has no intentions on leaving his wife. Takamine is good as the displeased, obsessed person who simply cannot let go of her feelings. This relationship is basically doomed at the start of the film, and at 2 full hours, it does feel a tad on the long side, and also the melodramatic side, but Naruse expertly explores this kind of one-way relationship, and this is one of his more highly acclaimed films as well. Number 6, Older Brother, Younger Sister, also known as Ani Imoto, 1953. The eldest daughter of a rural family comes home pregnant, which strains the relationships between the family members and results in the family being ostracized by their fellow townspeople. Now, Naruse in this case offers some nice camera work, and the acting is obviously great from everyone. But I particularly enjoyed Yoshiko Kuga's performance as the sister San. This director's best films are usually driven by strong conflicts, and this is no exception as it contributes some intensely dramatic moments. Number 5, Sincerity from 1939. This film by Naruse is about an 11-year-old daughter of a lower-class family who is best friends with a girl from an upper-class family. Her mother had a mysterious relationship with her friend's father before they separately married, which is the focus of the storyline. And the true driving force is the warm mood and loving relationships between the girl and her mother, as well as their friend. Acting very good, of course, but the young Teruko Kato steals the show in this delightful film. Number 4, When a Woman Ascends the Stairs, 1960. A Ginza hostess, recently widowed, must choose between opening her own bar or getting remarried and potentially dishonoring her late husband, to whose memory she is still devoted. Hideko Takamine is, of course, a very talented actress we've been covering a lot in this video, and she carries the film as her character struggles to balance self-respect and monetary necessities. The interaction between the characters is pretty great, and the dialogue is notably interesting. Popular actor Tatsuya Nakadai also has a significant role in this. This is one of the director's most highly acclaimed titles, and it's pretty easy to see why. Number 3, Lightning from 1952. A young woman, played by Hideko Takamine, who else, attempts to find happiness amidst the dysfunctional relationships that surround her. Marriage is depicted as a futile attempt at love, and most everyone leads an unhappy existence. But this is a very interesting film, with realistic conflicts that keep the viewer emotionally invested. Takamine is excellent in the lead role, and she is extremely likable, despite her character's outward distaste for men. Another solid effort from the director. Number 2, Sound of the Mountain, 1954. A woman turns to her father-in-law for emotional support in the face of her total jerk of a husband who is having an affair. Naruse does a great job in using subtlety to show the suffering and torment of the lead protagonist, this time played by elite classic actress Setsuko Hara. So she gets into Naruse's filmography a few times here. The dialogue is quite meaningful, the acting exceptional, and the conflict always gripping. One of the director's best, in my opinion. And my personal favorite Mikio Naruse film is Wife Be Like a Rose, also known as Kimiko, 1935. This film tells the story of a young woman who ventures out to find and convince her father to return home after years of living with his mistress. The years of separation have taken its toll on her mother, who continues to wait for the father's return. This is a very well-written film, with three-dimensional characters, convincing relationships, and some intriguing plot developments. The acting is excellent, of course, and entirely natural by everyone involved. Camera work is on the flashy side as well. All in all, an excellent film with a strong conflict and gripping dialogue. So those were my personal favorite Naruse films. Now, I think that there's a few titles on this list that don't show up quite as often, excuse me, as other people would have on their lists. I think Lightning is one that I'm probably rating quite high. Sincerity is another one. Older Brother, Younger Sister, and possibly A Wanderer's Notebook. But yeah, there's a few titles on here that might be, I guess, dark horse titles, as some people might say. But like I said at the start of the video, I could understand if someone put other films in this top 10 or switched up the rankings and stuff like that. But I think, a few of these films might be more, I guess, underappreciated films from the director. But if you're familiar with this director, let me know some of your favorites, and if any of these were a surprise to you that I had them this high on my list. And definitely Naruse is like one of the upper echelon classic directors from Japan. It should not have taken me this long to do a top 10 for him, But, I wanted to pepper in a bunch of other directors previously. And if you're interested in more top 10s, I have a whole playlist dedicated to this, and I'll include a link to that playlist below. A lot of classic film recommendations there. And, tell me your favorites. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.